everyone, welcome to another video on the JayBee and Milly channel. Today we are going to be reviewing the next episode of Scooby Doo and Guess Who, which is, am I correct in saying, a Scooby of 1,000 Faces? Yes. Okay, perfect. So, JayBee, the guest for this one, I know that's how you like to start these episodes, Wonder Woman. What do you know? What don't you know?
I'm not an expert on Wonder Woman primarily because when I was growing up, my fandom was always more Marvel than DC. Not in that I'd like switch myself off from like any of that stuff. I watched quite a lot of the original series of Linda Carter because I think my parents had that on tape, and obviously being a kid and that there was, I can't describe it without being weird, but there were curiosities as a lad that I had that compelled me to that original series. But it was a classic, you know, it had some good values to it and some pretty decent action for the time. You know, it's aged like milk now, but at the same time, when you look back at it, you have to admire what they were going for, especially in terms of the fight choreography and stuff like that. I had fun with it for what it was. And then going into the more modern stuff, I'd kind of switched myself off from some of the animated shows, although I've heard that a lot of them were good, like Justice League and stuff like that. And there's some really good shows that I do want to catch up on a bit later on. But then obviously there's the new DC stuff with Gal Gadot or Gal Gadot, I don't know how to pronounce that. And I love the first movie, not seen the second one yet, but we've got it on DVD. So I'm not a Wonder Woman fanatic. We did interview the voice of Wonder Woman in this episode, Rachel Kimsey, so for anyone watching this that just want to check that out, I'll leave that linked in the description down below. I think that was one of the stronger Season 2 interviews, so I can't recommend that enough, but that's basically all I know about Wonder Woman. What about you, Milly?
She turns up at the end of the new Shazam movie, right?
Oh, that's true, yeah.
That's about it.
Is that literally all you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you've got a Gal Gadot Funko Pop.
Oh yeah, I do. But I don't think we kept the box for it. But it was one of our first early ones, and I do think that was from Wonder Woman 84. Back when
it was.
We got that at the same time as the Black Widow one. Both films got delayed because of well, you guys know what. So they're kind of timepieces, really. So that's my knowledge of Wonder Woman. Besides something that we're going to get on to about powers, like Lasso of Truth, I know about that. There's also some magical tiara that isn't really used in this episode. But yeah, there we go. So let's get into the episode, if that's okay with you. First and foremost, I want to say I love the setting. Like instantly I feel like a lot of the ones, maybe because it was London, was set in the dark. It was nice now to get some bright, you know, museum setting, and the sun was shining outside like Greece. I think it was really cool to diversify it, like as far as that was concerned.
I think, like you said, it's set in a really nice place, but also this would have lent itself really well to being a movie.
Oh.
They explored the wider locations well because they had because Wonder Woman is one of their, what word am I looking for?
Justice Leaguers.
No, one of their...
Pengalings.
You're annoying.
Superheroes?
It's one of their trademarks or like...
Oh yeah, like the landmark characters, iconic characters.
They kind of... It's almost like they wanted to promote their own a little bit more.
Oh, wow.
You know, like giving her that plane that's invisible and stuff, in a way that they didn't do for any of the other guests. So it was very much a vibe of nepotism here. They would certainly made their own one a bit more interesting and everything. But I think this would have ultimately lent itself well to a movie. They established some things and
I will say, if I can say this without you ripping me apart, out of all the Justice Leaguers, Wonder Woman has always been my favourite.
Why?
And so, what do you mean why? She's just the coolest.
I like that from you.
But besides that, if I'm doing any type of crossover, I love Batman, like, he's alright, but I would happily sacrifice 2 Batman crossovers, or even the Crypto movie, for, like, Scooby Doo and Wonder Woman too. Like, I would much prefer that type of crossover, because Wonder Woman is my favourite. But I do agree it could have been a movie, but I think the setup here is nice, just because we established pretty much early on, even though it isn't explicitly said until later, I don't think, that this is Wonder Woman in a Scooby story, which you could argue that's what people would want from a movie anyway, because Scoob was derailed, getting bogged down with the superhero side more than the Scooby side, but it's pretty much set up that this Minotaur that shows up is just another guy in a mask, like a creeper, like any other Scooby Doo villain, apart from like the original live action, like the original ones, you know, the scary, spooky, real ones.
With the mention of the Minotaur, what's your thoughts?
I was a bit underwhelmed.
I like that.
Because I like a Minotaur, but I think about the pantheon of... Don't look at me like that.
What is a pantheon?
Like the group. When I think about the pantheon of Greek mythological creatures, like you have the Medusas or Gorgon, there's quite a lot.
Like Gorgonzola?
No, there's quite. See, that's offensive, I'm sure. There's quite a lot that I am familiar with. Obviously, maybe some of my time learning about that stuff, like. But I just felt that there was maybe more. My only hang-up is maybe it'd be more difficult to explain a Medusa superpower and then say, oh, it's just a mask. I guess a Minotaur is more hulking and just, I guess someone could easily become that quicker. But I liked it. It's just I would have rather some other ones there. But you liked it. What did you like about the Minotaur?
Just the aesthetics. I thought it looked like a good, intimidating villain. Yeah.
I like that. Now, we get the introduction of Wonder Woman. And I gotta say, this follows suit a little bit as far as it's quite a thick Wonder Woman, right?
No comment.
Like, we do get on that aspect, like what they've done with Daphne. We've got a very thick Wonder Woman here. But almost with that, I feel like maybe, because you were saying this with Velma a few episodes back, they could have adjusted that costume a little bit more, but ultimately, I don't really like it when they meddle with original designs in, like, comic books and stuff. Like, I used to like the show Supergirl with Melissa Benoist, and I think the comic book suit that they give her is really good, but then they try and change it so it's like a full body suit thing, and it's kind of like, yeah, I don't think I would have liked that for Wonder Woman in this episode, so it is what it is, but ultimately, I like that we get a sense of power without it being ridiculously overpowered. I mean, it's watered down, which I'm not a great fan of. But you still do get a sense of, like, the strength, you know, from, like, the 1v1. I mean, it ages badly because it's just washed guy in costume at the end. But, I don't know. I think before you know, it's an action scene that is not too bad.
No, it's fine. And they did try to say that wasn't he meant to be a bit of an athlete?
Yeah. But then it's like Captain America versus Thor. How well does that go?
They did also say that he was immune to that whip thing because of the cement that they used to fix the statues.
See, the lasso of truth is fun. It's the one thing from, like, superhero mythology that I'd be so curious to just play around with. Like, I'd love to be wrapped up in the lasso of truth and just be asked questions or just...
I think we'd end up breaking up within 5 minutes.
Why?
I just do.
No,
I don't want to hear what goes on in your head.
No, I'm just so curious to know how it would affect me. So I do think that they use that to good effect with, like, Shaggy and Scooby's back and forth of, oh, I went to the drive-thru and didn't order Scooby anything. I think that was, like, a nice, fun moment. Because it's, like, 100% that's what they would confess to in, like, their heart of hearts.
So come on, JayBee, what would I hear that I wouldn't like?
What do you mean that you wouldn't? I think you'd hear stuff that you did like. But, like, I'd just be so curious. I would be curious. So... all that happens, we've got our first interaction with the gang and the superhero in this world, and we find out that when I first watched this, because I did need to watch this briefly for the interview, but I was curious, is it just Daphne that's a Wonder Woman fan, or is it both Velma and Daphne?
Both.
So what did you think about that? Did you think, because they get into some conversation, like we have Wonder Woman saying something like, I believe that every woman should be their own hero. Like, was that something, I mean, what do you think about that type of dynamic?
I didn't think anything of it, really. I don't know. I guess it's kind of difficult to say because I'm going to give the unconventional female answer here, as always. Because you could look at it and be like, woo, it's feminism that she only trained them, and that line that you just repeated there. But, like, at the same time, it's also like, okay, great. So Fred and Shaggy are excluded. and that's not like an empowering thing.
I think it makes sense initially why she would only be comfortable training women, because I don't know where she's from. They do say it's called like mascara or something. And I know that in like the movies that I've seen and the shows, there are no men there. Like, it is just land of the women. So it would make sense that, you know what I mean? Like, it's like if you've only been driving Porsches your whole life, if like you then get to a Maserati, like maybe there's a bit of trepidation there. But then I don't think that there are any men that are physically in that place, so there would be no rules to say you can't train men as well. So I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we've got no grounds to believe that aliens exist here, right? Really? So by definition, there's no rules to say that you can't marry an alien.
That's true.
So I don't know how that works. Again, I'm not a Wonder Woman expert, but Fred is upset that he can't train with Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be upset too, because I think if you're going to learn how to fight, I mean, maybe you could argue you could have had a Wonder Woman Superman duo, but the story it tells her, I think, is ultimately, you know, you have Scooby giving that speech and then they can all train together. I don't really see the point of making it so they couldn't train at first, apart from just we have to tangent to run out the runtime. Because it was just Scooby speech and then, oh, okay, now all of a sudden the rules can be reversed. That was a little bit clumsy.
It was clumsy, it was maybe a bit unnecessary, but like you said, I think it was just to fuel the narrative of her working independently to becoming one of the gang, really.
So my question for you is, when you saw the conflict in this episode, so you have Shaggy going, oh, I'm eating alone, and Velma's like, oh, so I had to eat this disgusting thing. Like, there was conflict here, and I know that when we went into the Abraham Lincoln episode, you were wishing that there was conflict in that episode that was more internal. Was this more along the lines of what you were thinking?
Yeah, I always like seeing the dynamics growing between the gang. I don't see there's any need in bringing in external characters when you can just develop the, you know, relationship that they have. It showed Velma in a positive light, which we don't often see, making the effort to help Shaggy, and at the same time it allowed for Wonder Woman to spend some time with Scooby, and Scooby being the primary character, it made her character more accessible to people, perhaps more liked by people.
I think that was sweet, like the Wonder Woman Scooby stuff.
Or like getting him hot dogs so that he couldn't see because he was scared of the heights.
Which I think has always been a ridiculous part of the Wonder Woman mythos. Like, the invisible jet, that would be terrifying. Like,
It'd be quite cool.
No, it wouldn't.
Would you not, like, lie on the floor and look down?
No.
And just see what you're flying over?
An invisible submarine, I think I could see that. Because you could literally, like, lie on your belly and pretend that you're swimming, or even just look around and have more visibility about, like, the sea creatures and ocean life. An invisible jet, for me, I would have soiled my pants on multiple occasions. For Wonder Woman in this art style, she's flashing everyone. Like, there is no good implications to this invisible jet.
This episode hasn't done anything for, like, female modesty in the slightest. Like you said, in that plane, anything, the way that Velma was bending over something, like, this was animated by a male.
Whoa, I want to check if it was that.
Surely, because a female's gonna, like, consider some of these angles.
But then I'd rather this comic accurate suit than pants. I'll be honest.
I agree.
So it's like the less of two evils. To the point, and I know there's some contention around this, right? Like with us. But I think one of the reasons why it was so intriguing in a modern day superhero setting is you see, say, Mary Marvel's suit in Shazam. It's so unusual to see an actual representation of that type of suit in live action, because nowadays the trendy thing is making it more modest. Like, I think it's so bizarre when it actually happens now, because it's almost like it's almost a phrase of a bygone era, almost, that you'd expect that to be in like early 2000s stuff.
Yeah.
But I would rather that look versus Here we've got the pants and a cargo short on top of it, and because we're super feminist, we have like them super covered. Like even if it isn't practical to the fights and stuff, we're gonna have them in raincoats and Macintoshes.
It's got to be more like.
But there is a middle ground. Like Wonder Woman in that invisible jet would be very exposed, so there is a middle ground. But I'd prefer the accuracy versus just a ridiculous looking suit.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But at the same time, I think if anything it is more practical to be knotting a dress in a battle sequence.
No, but you got that leg movement for all the kicking and stuff, and
yes,
like the spinning.
But that's not practical.
Is it not?
No.
I would have thought,
if you're wearing a dress, you're not kicking your leg up as high as someone's head.
But Provenance, Greece is a hot place.
Wear shorts then.
I don't know. You'd rip your shorts. Then again, it's been an argument as far as comic books have been, because all the guys just wear ridiculous stuff anyway. Like Spider-Man would have ripped his pants on multiple occasions.
No, but it's the flexibility of the material.
We don't know. Well, spandex.
Yeah.
Spandex. Everything. Spandex. So, yeah. I mean, an interesting conversation to be had. Like, we get the unmasking, like I say, like, who is it this time? It's the museum curator.
Yeah, that's been planning it for years.
And he gets fumbled. Like, he fumbles, basically. I do think it is ridiculous that they try to justify it. Like, he was an athlete, so he can go toe-to-toe with Wonder Woman. I think that's ridiculous. That's like me saying I did some weightlifting in class, like when I was 12 years old.
Yeah,
so
you lifted a pencil.
Yeah, so I can go toe-to-toe in a battle with Floyd Mayweather. Like, it's just not going to happen, is it? Like, it's ridiculous, but, you know, it is what it is, right? It's just a funny thing. Like, oh, of course that makes sense. Even though it doesn't, but we've only got 5 minutes left until we get kicked out of the studio for the next episode. So, you know, Bob's your uncle, Beryl's your aunt, and Wonder Woman's your extremely attractive auntie. So, Milly, would you smash or pass? I think it's called the Scooby of 1,000 Faces.
I'd smash it. It was a decent enough episode. Like I said, I think there was scope to make it one of the DTVs. So, I'm quite happy with it, really. JayBee, smash or pass?
Oh, I think this is a big smash. I'm not sure if it's got the story of, you know, some that I have really liked. Like the Ricky one. I think the monster was better in the Ricky one. I think the structure of the Chris Paul one was better still. I think it's the best looking guest as far as like aesthetics are concerned. And also, I just think the whole world that's crafted around this is amazing. So it's a big smash, but I'm not sure if it's my favourite episode of this season. Maybe at the end of this season we'll do like a ranking, like season 1 episodes ranked. So maybe I'll have more time to think then. But this is definitely quite a big smash for me. I'm definitely going to be watching this quite a few times in the future. So yeah, that about does us for today. Thank you so much for watching. Again, not much community news apart from there is an interview that's just been announced and an interview on the way. As always, we're going on that trip to 150, our third and final season. It's going to be the most explosive and dynamic one yet, so you do not want to miss that. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, and if you do want to hear more reviews from us, then please like, comment and subscribe.
JayBee and Milly.